Hello everyone and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Now I usually don't upload on Sunday, but I have way too many replays anyway. And I found some time, so for a bonus video. Today we are watching Ferry 25 in the Tirpitz. The Tier 8 German premium battleship is on the map Okinawa in a 3-point domination game mode. And well, it's a tier 9 battle, but with almost no tier 9s. There is only one enemy destroyer and there is a carrier. But it looks quite okay. Now the friendly team in the beginning of the match, well, there were basically two people discussing taking Point Bravo and Charlie. Unfortunately, a lot of ships disagree. And while they didn't say anything, it's quite obvious that they have a different plan. Now, taking this point alpha is, well, it's a bit problematic, because there is this giant island that's basically blocking this point. Usually in a domination game with 3 capture points, you want to take 2 capture points and then just defend them. And Bravo and Charlie are just very nice. There is a lot of open ocean between them. You can defend them at the same time. Your whole fleet can focus fire and support each other. But if you split your fleet and take them here up in the north, then part of your fleet is just, well, stuck up there and can't support the rest of your team. Now what you can see here is there are quite a few enemies moving towards Bravo and Charlie. And the friendlies are... Oh! And Ferry just deleted one enemy ship, which is pretty nice. Never show broadside to a battleship. But yeah, as I was saying, now the friendly team basically got the point in the north for free, so all of those ships should now really move towards center. But I'm not sure if they will do that. Now the one destroyer here, at least he's fast, he can now just go through here and, well, shoot the enemies from behind. So far it's not looking that great, while the friendly team has a destroyer here trying to take the center. This massive force will soon force this poor guy out of here. There are a few ships here way too far in the north, while this cruiser here might still be able to do something. The 2 cruisers here in the north are probably way too far away with any impact. This point down here is lost and there is an airstrike incoming. This would be a perfect time for Ferry to launch his plane, but there is an Edinburgh who is, well, just asking for a paddling. And well, that Edinburgh got quite a bit lucky there. Now the airstrike is coming and Ferry is a bit too late with his catapult fighter there. But it looks like he can dodge those just fine. He took one hit, but it was a minor one. Now the friendly ships here are sticking nicely together. Battleships front the cruiser a little bit behind, but they just don't have the numbers to actually push in. And the enemies now are getting the perfect situation, basically. They take Bravo and Charlie, and then they have their massive force here, where they can just defend. But this New Orleans here is, well, showing broadside to a battleship. Nicely done by Ferry, and one less enemy cruiser. So it's mistakes like that that make the enemy team still lose so far. Now, 2 ships behind, that doesn't mean they will lose. The enemies still have the better position. There is a destroyer behind them, which could prove quite troublesome for them. You usually don't expect torpedoes from behind. And I'm not exactly sure where the enemy destroyer is. If the enemy destroyer were here in front of those, in front of that massive fleet, would be could be kind of bad for the friendly ships here. But so far we haven't seen any torpedo strikes incoming. Now a lot of friendly ships are still stuck up here in the north. Those ships have no way of interfering in that fight currently. So the enemies have a nice opportunity here to push in and just take out those few ships. And yeah, there was a torpedo strike on the Tirpitz. So maybe the enemy destroyers around, maybe they were from a cruiser. This poor Tirpitz is probably going to sink soon. But he is doing a great job of soaking up damage for the team. And when you consider this torpedo launch here, it looks dangerous, but Ferry was in communication with his teammate here, and his teammate was fully aware of those torpedoes, so it's fine. You should never do that, of course, if there is a random person. And yeah, there is another airstrike incoming. But this time it isn't going for Ferry, and one enemy ship dealt with. Unfortunately, the friendly Tirpitz is lost. But there are some very low health battleships in the front line of the enemies. And those battleships are desperately trying to turn around, it looks like, and by doing so they show broadside. And we all know what happens to ships that show broadside. Now Ferry showed his broadside himself. He was lucky that there wasn't that much fire incoming, but he wanted to maneuver towards that side of the island. He wants to find some cover against this massive enemy fleet, and surprisingly enough, the enemies do have the superior numbers here, but they are still getting wrecked. And Ferry did lose one of his torpedo launches, so he can't really ambush this Iowa. And he will hopefully make it behind cover of this island before the Iowa can shoot his broadside. Now the friendly team is... I guess they are taking this Point Bravo here now. The enemy team is off here down in the south. And look at that, there is a Pensacola. He's barely moving. I think he is speeding up again. And the Pensacola wants... more is a cruiser that's showing broadside, but I think Ferry is giving a little bit too much lead. So, lucky Pensacola, but I guess there will be more shells incoming, and the friendly ships in the north have finally arrived, or at least some of them. And we can see the enemy destroyer here, but he is engaged by quite a few ships, I think. And surprisingly, this enemy Pensacola is still floating. I think he can avoid most of those shells. And here Ferry is a little bit... he's showing a little bit too much broadside for those battleships. Now it's possible those battleships are engaged with whoever's in front of them, but no one was actually just waiting for Ferry to arrive. But he survived barely. And it will be a while before he can repair, but Iowa is dealt with. I don't think the Shanos is shooting him, so this game is obviously pretty much won already. Which is kind of surprising considering that a large part of the friendly team was out of the shooting match for most of the battle. But I guess it came down to better target selection and better aiming and angling from the friendly team. And well, the island was still blocking the shots, but enemies dealt with, only the carrier is remaining. And somebody in the chat is unhappy that everybody has situational awareness. Like, this is what shows you that you are detected. A long time ago, that used to be a skill in the skill tree until Wargaming decided everyone picks it, so we just give it to everyone. And, well, I think he's complaining that you can't ambush carriers now because they realize they are detected. I'm not sure if every carrier realizes that even with this symbol, but... well... it's not like ambushing carriers is that much of a thing anyway in domination. I would say you usually want to focus on the capture points in a destroyer. If you spend too much time hunting the carrier, it will usually be bad for your team. But anyway, this carrier is trying to run away, but there is just nowhere to run. And I don't think this carrier will live long enough for the friendly team to win by points. He's under too much pressure. And there is the win. And the Kraken. Oh, let's take a look at the results. Barry managed to get 2,555 base experience. Well done by him, and he unleashed the Kraken at the end. Now, generally well done by the part of the team that held the center. Well, not exactly held, but they prevailed against overwhelming odds. They kept their cool, they kept angling, and they kept picking the right targets. The enemies did have the better tactic, but they lost the shooting match, unfortunately for them. Now, also when you look at the experience, you can see those ships that were in the center scored pretty high, and the ships that went in the north, they just didn't have any targets to shoot at. Now, Barry managed to get Confederate First Blood Kraken, and 2 devastating strikes. He scored 139,000 points of damage. And yes, I enjoyed watching that. It kind of showed the downside of taking a north, because a lot of the friendly ships couldn't fight, but it also showed that even though the enemies had the better tactic, they couldn't pull through because, I suppose, not as good target selection and angling. So, yeah. I enjoyed watching it. I hope you did as well, and I'll see you guys next time.